What's going on, my people? Let me start by apologizing if you hear any traffic in the background. I'm actually sitting here on a nice terrace. I'm outside. It's a beautiful day here in the Bay Area, so I decided I just kind of wanted to get out a little bit. So I'm just kind of hanging out on this public balcony, and like I said, it's a very beautiful day. But anyway, while I'm sitting here, I'm also going through social media, and man, this whole PlayStation thing, the job posting that they had that basically was really nothing but an announcement. It's all it was. They posted that knowing that information was going to go public. So it was like an announcement. That's their way of letting people know, what they're planning on doing. They knew people were going to find out. They knew it was going to be a shitstorm. PlayStation is many things. Stupid is not one of them. So if this was some information that they didn't want to get out, there are ways that they can hire people without actually posting it in a place where information that they didn't want to get out would get out. Anyway, that said, I'm on social media, man, and I'm reading people's posts like this guy right here. I've never really interacted with this guy online, but I've heard of his reputation, and I see I see that what I've heard is true. I understand that he likes to write a lot of very long posts, and this is a tactic where he looks like he's about to post something, like he's really about to give you some knowledge, like he's really about to really bring it home for you, and really tell you what's really happening in a situation where it looks like something might be happening, but actually something else is happening, and he's about to clear it all up for you. And he knows, because there have been numerous studies on this, especially in the West, especially on social media. Most people, when it comes to videos and written format, do not really get too deep into posting. On videos, most people listen, they look at the video for maybe about a minute or two, and then they're out, they're gone. When it comes to articles, there are studies out there that show that people actually read the title, and then they might read, I forget what you call that part of an article, where they're kind of giving you an idea of what the article is going to be about, but it's a very, very short paragraph. I forgot what it's called. You probably know what I'm talking about. But they read that. If they're really doing good, they'll scroll down past maybe about 2 or 3 paragraphs, read a paragraph in the middle, and then after that, they close the article. And they actually go on to use information they got in that article when they're debating with people online and discussing things with people online. And if it's a trusted source, they just believe the heading. They just believe the title to the article. And that's it. That person said it, and that's it. But a lot of times what you'll find is that a lot of these articles, if you go down to the bottom and look at, maybe sometimes they put it in the last, but usually they put it in the like the second to the last or the third to the last of the bottom paragraph. Like if you go down to the bottom, go up 1 paragraph or maybe 2 paragraphs, and you'll see a clear disclaimer saying that everything you just read is unfounded. We have no evidence of it. I've read some disclaimers that basically just say, man, unless you just love reading, you really just completely wasted your time reading this article, because basically we don't know if any of this is true. So there are a ton of articles out there like that. And the reason why they do that is because they know most people aren't going to make it to the disclaimer. Now, this guy right here, he doesn't even put that kind of effort into it. He makes an original first statement, and it sounds very intellectual, and it sounds like he's really about to give you the lowdown. And then he immediately starts getting into a lot of guesswork, giving his opinions, and giving, basically what he personally thinks and what he hopes is true. He doesn't get into a lot of facts. He peppers in some facts, and then he takes those facts and he builds a foundation of guesswork around those facts. But there are some people who I respect on some level. There are people that I respect on some level, but I don't want to say, because I don't completely respect anyone in the media 100%. I always feel like everybody has their biases, and especially these days, people in media just aren't what they used to be. I'm an old man, and I can remember when people in the media, you just had no idea what their personal opinion was because they never expressed it. They were very, very professional. But these days, even the best of them, sometimes they can't help but let their biases seep out. Tom Warren, to me, is someone who, as long as you have your thinking cap on, he's okay to follow and read his work. Now, he hides a lot of his work behind a paywall, and I don't think it's coincidental that a lot of the stuff that he puts behind a paywall seems like clickbait. So I'm not going to pay anybody that puts information behind a paywall, and it's one of the reasons why once a lot of these people get to a point where their bread and butter comes from clicks and it comes from people reading their work, they're more apt to get a little bit more desperate and post things that just generate clicks. And there's really no harm in that. It's not like he's harming anybody, but I do kind of hate misinforming people. And also, to be perfectly honest with you, I do think that he's one of the people who kind of survive or they basically feel more comfortable under the usual gaming environment where PlayStation and not Xboxes, but PlayStation and Xbox are in certain places in the industry keeping on this constant struggle between the two companies. If we ever get to a point where there is no struggle, and to put it simply, the console wars is dead, then they have to get a little bit more creative about how they do their work, because there's no longer a per se like a whipping boy. So a lot of these people are trying like hell to keep Xbox as a whipping boy as long as they can, because as long as there's a whipping boy, there's someone that you can beat up on in the industry. You can write a controversial article about them in the industry. Now, he's one of the people, and there are a couple of people who are following him, who are basically pushing the idea that PlayStation isn't necessarily going to be giving Xbox any support. In other words, they're not really going to be putting games on Xbox. They're not really going to be doing that. What's going to happen is Xbox is basically going to PC, so naturally they're going to have access to PlayStation games. But here's the deal. Like I'm saying here in my tweet, if you aren't going to do business directly with Xbox, you don't even need to mention Xbox. If you're PlayStation, all you need to do is put your games on Steam, in the Epic Store, or a few other stores that might be on Xbox, the next Xbox, which will be a PC. And they can purchase their games through those stores. That was the original plan. That is the original plan of Xbox. Okay, we can't directly buy your games because they're not on our store, but what we'll do, we'll put these stores on our box so that our customers can have access to those stores and buy those games or your games through those stores. We'll also arrange it so that when our customers purchase said games on those other stores, they don't even need to go to those other stores or those other launchers to start their games, because those games that they purchase will show up in our ecosystem, which they do right now. I made a video not long ago showing PlayStation games on the Xbox app, on the Xbox PC app. So you don't even need to mention Xbox. The only reason you would have to mention Xbox is if you're also planning on putting those games, your games, PlayStation games, on the Xbox store. It is the only reason you have to mention Xbox. If you're not planning on doing that, if there was this whole pride thing, this whole console war thing still going on, if they're not working together, then you don't need to say anything about Xbox. You could just say, hey, I'm going to deal with the Epic Store, I'm going to deal with Steam, et cetera, et cetera. I'll put those games there. If Xbox wants to create a way for their customers to access those stores and they purchase our games, fine. But we're not going to put anything on the Xbox store. So we don't need to mention Xbox. We don't need to have meetings with Xbox. We don't need to even think about Xbox. All we need to do is focus on putting our games on PC, and that's it. So it just seems to be a lot of people out here, man, that are really coping on different levels. Now, this is kind of moderate, which to me is the most dangerous type of coping because it seems reasonable and it kind of pushes false narratives without looking like you're pushing a false narrative. But I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this subject. I really have a few things to do out here, but I did kind of want to make this video, man, and just kind of express myself while it was on my mind. And man, there's some ridiculous stuff out here that I can show you guys that people are saying, man. I'm sure you guys, it's not a surprise to you. In fact, many of you have probably already been on social media and probably have seen even more than I've seen. But it's really crazy, man. It's more fascinating than it is angering. It does anger me when people like Tom Warren or people who are supposed to be people in the media and present themselves like truth tellers. It does kind of anger me in a way when they do that, because there are a lot of people who actually believe that they can trust them 100%. But a lot of these other people out here, I just find them kind of funny and also very interesting. I just think to myself, man, what would really motivate a person to feel this way about video games and a video game company? I really don't get it. But anyway, guys, if you got anything to say on this subject, love to hear from you down in the comment section. And I'm probably going to post this video up later on this evening. I'm trying to keep them kind of short because I'm kind of really busy lately, busy in a good way. But anyway, guys, enjoy the rest of your weekend. And as usual, stay safe.